Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? This is Amanda. I do hope that you're well. A warm welcome to my channel if you're new. If you're a regular, welcome back. I'm going to be channeling Princess Diana in this video, and it's not the first time that I've done so. I've channeled Diana quite a few times. I'll put the playlist below. She heads up something called the Heart Squad, which is a number of beautiful spirits who come forward that we have known in this life to help us with the ins and outs of life in all its glory. So yeah, Diana was one of the first that I channeled. This is probably long overdue. I've been holding off doing this video because of something that she said to me and you, if you remember, in a previous channeling a few years ago probably now, which is when I was asking about the whole dynamic with particularly Harry and Meghan. I always remember she said, let it play out, let it play out. And there was definitely an energy from her at that time of hands off to a degree, needing to just allow the story to play out. And that includes, of course, all the other players in the story. And that includes William, Kate, Charles, Camilla, etc. So I always abided by that. I felt that that was respectful to respect what she had said. But over, of course, the last couple of months in particular, we've had Harry's book that has just been launched, which is called Spare, this week, in fact. And then, of course, there was the Netflix documentary with Harry and Meghan towards the end of last year. And it's as though the game changed. And I felt Diana wanting to come through and speak again on this. So I'm going to allow her to do that. I've been in communication with her really for the past 24 hours in particular. She's very chatty. She's got a lot to say. She wants this to be not just about her family, as she still calls them, because of course they are. Just because you've crossed a spirit, you're still family. But to take from this video observations and things for you to reflect on with your own family dynamics. Because the truth is, there isn't a family out there that doesn't have some degree of issue, problem, friction, story, definitely. And what she is showing me is that the archetypal family that might head up a nation, as in the case of the UK with the royals, but also is prevalent in other countries as well. They're there for a reason, and they're there to help us understand some of the micro dynamics which exist within our own clan, played out on a much bigger stage. So you might see yourself, for example, in William, you might see yourself in Harry, you might see yourself in Meghan, etc. You might identify with one more than another. You might champion one more than another. You might want to boo the pantomime villain more than another. But ultimately, that's a reflection of something that's going on within you and within your family, within your clan. So as we go through this video, please remember that to also try and take it back to yourself. And that's one of the main reasons that I'm feeling I want to do this video today. I'm not really interested in the gossip and the taking sides. It's far more about what can we learn from this. And the whole of the Heart Squad, all of the channelings that I've done have always had that premise, and we've always tried to go back to that place. So please, let's be respectful in the comments. Let's be respectful of each other, and let's be respectful of all parties involved here with regards to what we're going to be talking about. So, yeah, before I start then, let's just call in the energies of my guides, and in particular Archangel Metatron, who watches over this work, because he very much watches over the Rainbow Bridge, which is that place that we cross when we die and we pass over, but equally which we can communicate to those that have gone upon, and it's always open. So let's just firstly call in the energy of Archangel Metatron to be with us during this session and to thank him for being so, to bring in and to us the true version of Diana. Diana as she wishes to appear to us today, and complete protection around this video, around ourselves, calling in the highest light, the highest truths, the highest learning, and the energy of love. Amen. Okay. So I'm going to start with a reminder of something that Diana has already said in previous videos, only a couple of things. I'll then give you a few signs that she gave me last night that she was around. And then we'll get straight into the subject matter, okay? I'm assuming that everybody knows what's been going on, unless probably you've been hiding under a cave. It's been in a cave. It's been very hard to avoid this story. It's been across all of the mainstream media, certainly in my country, which is the UK, but I think in many other places around the world. And yeah, at the heart of it, it is Harry trying to tell his story, particularly linked into his book I'm talking about now. The book is called Spare, which is a nod to the phrase an heir and a spare, which goes back a long time, I think, in cultural tradition, not just in the UK, and other countries as well, whereby I'm being drawn to places such as India, Africa, other places around the globe where historically the desire for a male heir to the family line has been very strong. And then once that male heir has been achieved, anything else is a spare. And that's an awful way to put it, but it's sort of culturally what's been in our world for generations, to be honest. An interesting thing, of course, now about the royal family is that future heirs don't have to be male, they can be female. But at the moment, the line of succession is, well, Charles is the king and will be crowned the king in May. Then it is William. Then I believe it is George, his oldest son. Harry, can't quite remember where he is in the line of succession. I think he might be number 5, something like that. Not quite sure. But William's children basically go before him. I think I'm right in saying that. But yes, this book. Haven't read it, have to say. Have not read it yet. Might read it. To be honest, almost feel I don't need to read it because it's been reported so fluently. Most of the things have been leaked from it already. And at heart, I guess it's the story about his life and the loss of his mother. I'm assuming meeting his future wife comes into this book as well. It certainly did in the documentary. But there's a lot of very personal information that he's given in that book, probably over and beyond what needed to be there. Again, not judging it, just with my mum hat on. And remember, this video is going to be Diana coming through as his mother. So I feel I can say this on her behalf as well, because I've got her here. You know, stuff about how you lose your virginity, for example, getting frostbite on personal bits of your private anatomy. Does the world really need to know that type of information? I don't know whether it does. The fact that there's stories in there about the fact that or I don't know if this was an interview, that he was given a smaller bedroom, for example, in Balmoral than William did. I mean, I live in a 5-bedroomed house and we've got 2 offices, but one of my daughters has got a much smaller bedroom than my other daughter. It's what happens in families sometimes. It doesn't mean anything beyond that. It's just that sometimes you get the smaller bedroom. That type of level of detail is within the book. But one of the things that Diana is particularly concerned about is his mention of the war that he was part of and the killing of 25 Taliban, which has really put a target on his back. And she's going to talk about that. But anyway, yeah, that's what's brought me to this video today. Where Diana has mentioned particularly Harry and Meghan before, I've done a couple of videos, but I always remember the song that she gave me. I've mentioned this a few times, which was right at the start of their relationship. and I asked her about their relationship, and she just gave me a song, and it was Dermot Kennedy's Power Over Me, which is a song about control. It's about somebody having control and power over you. If you read the lyrics to the song, it's pretty clear what Diana was saying. It's almost like she didn't want to say too much. She was dropping hints in terms of how she felt, but out of loyalty to her sons, out of loyalty to their wives, didn't want to add any more aggro into the mix. But I think it's got to a level now where she wants to have her say. And then I've also mentioned, obviously, what she said about just let it play out. But what I want to say to her now is, but now what? Because as I say, the game has changed. The first question I've got for her, and I'll bring her in a moment, but just want to tell you about yesterday evening. The first question is, how are you feeling? So when I decided I was going to do this video yesterday, set up a little altar to her here. I've got some cards that I might be using as well. But I set it up, went upstairs, was about to make my dinner, had a bath. And those of you that watched my live that I did this week, I was giving out some free prizes. Haven't actually drawn the names yet, by the way. We'll be doing that next week. I'll let people know who's won, what, etc. But one of the prizes that I was going to give but then held back from for some reason was a book that I've got. And it's a book that I actually bought my one of my daughters for Christmas. And then it turned out that she already had it. So it's a duplicate. And I was going to give it away because we've got two of them. But anyway, it was lying on my bed, and after my bath, I just picked it up, and I said to myself, said to Diana, I said, oh, is there a message in this book from you? And I opened it at a page, and I wasn't really expecting for there to be a message, but there was, and it really blew me away. I'm going to tell you what that is. The book is by Lana Del Rey. It's called Violet Bent Backwards Over the Grass. It's a book of poetry and observations. But I opened it at this page, and I've never read this book before, okay? As I say, it was going to be a present. And it says this. It says, you're only as happy as your least happy child. Should we just have a moment to think about that? Because I think that's just so profound. It says, you're only as happy as your least happy child. Now, anybody who is a parent, and obviously I'm talking here, Diana as the mother, okay, the one who maybe has given birth, raised the child, etc., brought the child up, a guardian of the child, really gets what she's just said there via this piece. You're only as happy as your least happy child. Says to me very clearly that even in spirit, of course, hopefully, we're at peace, we're healed. I still believe we're working. But when we have soul tribe, particularly children that are still alive on the planet, we will, of course, always check in on them, very much like we would have done if we were alive. And if you have a child or children that is maybe crucially unhappy or going through a terrible time or angst, that affects you as a parent. It truly affects you as a parent. It rocks your equilibrium, it rocks your world. And it's very hard to put it aside. It's always present to some degree. So what she's saying to me and you very clearly is that there is an unhappiness here with her because she can see how unhappy one of her children is. Now, it might be both, to be honest. I haven't asked her that. That's as far as I got. So I'm going to go in now and I'm going to ask her. Oh, the other thing that she showed me, this was a couple of days before that book incident, was, again, I was just trying to tune in and I was asking her about the royal family generally, just a very general question about maybe impact on the royal family. And what she showed me was a bowling alley. So I'm assuming you have bowling alleys in lots of different countries. You know the bowling alley where you roll the bowling ball and all of the pins are upright. And if you get a direct hit, all of the pins fall down, don't they? All of the rolling pins. Are they called pins? They all fall down, and then it's like victory. The ball has gone, and it's put them all down. But then, of course, what happens is they all just spring up again, and that's what I was being shown, which was that whatever impact this has on the royal family short term, it doesn't have an impact in the longer term. Now, that doesn't mean that the royal family is here to stay forever. That's not what she's saying. That's not what I'm saying either, because as an institution, it will evolve, it will grow. If it's not needed anymore by the general populace, then it won't be there anymore at some point in the future. But I'm just looking towards the short to mid-term. And by that, I'm really talking, for example, about my lifespan. So I'm in my 50s now, so we're talking about the next couple of decades. I'm seeing the pins, i.e. the other members of the family, as it were, or the what she's saying, the critical members of the family, are able to stand back up from any assault upon it. But they are the strongest ones, okay? And by that, it's really the succession is what she's talking about. The succession is secure. And the succession ultimately is William, okay? I know we have Charles about to be king, but as I've always said and I've always felt, and lots of other psychic mediums agree with this, which is that he will become king. He already is king, he just hasn't been crowned, but it won't necessarily be a very long kingship. And people have always speculated about why that would be so. And I think there's a health issue there that either makes him have to step down, but William becomes king sooner than he thinks he's going to be. That succession is secure. So the bowling alley, it's like whatever is done to try and wreck that, it can't succeed, basically. So that's where we got to. Anything else to say? No, I think we're just going to go straight into it now. And we're going to bring her through. When I saw her this morning, how she was coming through was as an everyday mum. Okay, now I've done videos before, and because I'm a channeler, you get into the energy, obviously, of the one you're going to be channeling. Sometimes that can affect your mannerisms, your speech, your dress, the way you present yourself. If you've watched my previous channelings, you know that I've historically maybe dressed up a bit, or I felt called to do that, maybe out of respect or whatever. And this morning, I actually wanted to sit here in jogging pants, a jogging top, very, very casual. And actually, it was quite funny. I was going through my wardrobe, and like Diana was at my side, and she was saying, this is no good. She says, you've got no casual clothes, which is the truth, actually. My daughters have long said this. You've got no casual clothes. And this is the beauty about Diana. She said to me, you need to get yourself down to Sweaty Betty. Now, Sweaty Betty is quite an upmarket brand in the UK. It's quite expensive. And as soon as she said that, she said, but of course Primark would also do. So it's like straddling the two extremes, a very top brand, expensive brand, but also a much cheaper brand, because she didn't want to come across as though you need to get the top-notch stuff. You could equally get stuff that isn't maybe as good. So I just loved that. But I'm telling you this because that's the way she's coming through today, as an everyday mum, in her jeans, in her jogging pants. I'm seeing her as she used to be when she used to go to the gym, or she used to love swimming as well, didn't she? But she'd always be in very, very casual gear. The other image she's showing me from the past is that photograph of her and William and Harry on the water slide at a adventure park in the UK. And they'd gone down on this slide and they'd come up and they're all just laughing, and there's such joy on their faces. And again, she's just wearing like, I don't know, an anorak type thing. And it's just very, very ordinary. So that's how she's wanted to come across today, as just an ordinary mum, and for people to relate to her as that with regards to what she's about to say. Okay. All right. Let's now just bring her through then and see what she wants to say. So Princess Diana, I'm using the Rainbow Bridge spray, which helps me to connect to spirit, connect to her energy. Diana. Let's see today. January the 7th, 2023. It's the 7th, and she was a number 7 numerologically as well. So she's going to be like the sea. She is watery. She was a Cancerian. It's raining out there today. She's showing me the element of water. She's showing me the element of water. She's showing me rain and pouring rain and storms that come and wash everything away, and can create a lot of destruction. But then the sun comes back out and it dries everything up, and people pick up the pieces and they get on with their lives. And that feels an analogy in terms of what's going on with her family at the moment, but also with the watershed energies around what Harry is saying. And we have to remember it is what Harry is saying. It's like she's saying, imagine your family if one person and only one person was appointed to speak on behalf of everybody else within that family and to give their version of events. She said, you probably may have an issue with that because every member of a family sees it slightly differently, comes at any situation differently, comes at life differently, comes in with maybe a different soul mission, a different purpose. And that always should be remembered as well. So seeing through one lens is always slightly distorted. And she's showing me now like a camera lens. And it's as though the camera is out in the rain and the person behind the camera is frantically trying to clear the lens of all the rain that's coming upon it. So that's what I'm being shown. I won't go any further. I'm just telling you what I'm being shown by her. Okay, so I'm going to ask you first, Diana, how you feel. Let me just again give an idea of how you're looking today, how you're presenting yourself. So I was talking about the casual gear. Do you mind if we just have a little look at your energy field today and how you are appearing? Right, now the interesting thing about her today is that she's looking a little bit older than we remember her. Not an old woman, but older. Slight, a little bit of grey here along the hairline, just a little bit, not much. She's saying, Amanda, just a little bit. She's laughing. Definitely a little bit older, and there's a bit of a line here on her brow as well, like a worry line. There's also some little crow's feet here appearing around her eyes. Yes, understand she does not have a body anymore in spirit, but in terms of mediumship work, what happens is when they step forward to communicate with us, they appear in a way that we can relate to them. So she's not necessarily just going to come in as a floating ball of spirit. She's presenting herself. It's like a hologram is what she's saying. It is like a hologram is what I'm looking at. But the hologram that she's showing me looks slightly older than she did than when she was alive. For some reason, she's taking me down to her ankles and she's showing me her socks and her shoes, which are tennis shoes by the looks of things. And it's interesting, the details that I'm seeing are the face and the feet for whatever reason. Okay, so let's just bring you a little bit closer in. Welcome you back. Thank you for being here. Thank you for having me, she says. She says, I know that people have been worried. And she says, I also can feel people are worried about me. She says, you don't need to worry about me. So she's aware that other people are, particularly parents, have been reflecting on how she would be feeling maybe this week or over the last couple of months with her two precious sons having fallen out so spectacularly. She says, don't worry about me. She says, put the focus back on yourself and your own family. She says, if you are hurting for me, there is a wound within you, which I am showing you. The fact that you are being able to empathize with it is about something within your own family structure, past, present, or future. Okay. Okay, Diana, so how are you feeling? Let me just try and tune into her words. Let me just feel her energy. She's showing me a huge rock. Feels like the Rock of Gibraltar. For some reason, I'm wanting to say the Rock of Gibraltar, which is a British outpost, of course. She's saying it's a British outpost, but it's like it's like the Rock of Gibraltar is what I'm seeing, and it's weathered many storms. And she's showing me herself as like this rock in the ocean that has weathered many storms, that has a lighthouse on top of it. And I don't know whether Gibraltar does or not. It's not really about that now. It's just about the rock in the sea. And this stone has got lots of barnacles on it and crustaceans, and it's lashed by the winds and it's lashed by the rain, and it's assaulted on all fronts. It feels very exposed, but yet it stands firm. Now, there's something here coming through with her about vulnerability, in terms of her vulnerability. It feels as though she wants to take ownership for some of what is occurring now within her family. This is not to do with the fact that she died when she did, because that was always as it was going to be. And as an example, her sons, okay, let's take a step back. Souls who choose to come into families know the key events that are going to occur. And so therefore, a child that chooses a parent that is not going to live for very long knows that pre-incarnation. At earthly level, that is very hard to understand and comprehend, but at soul level, it makes complete sense. So she doesn't feel guilty about that. She feels, and guilt is not quite the right word, but it's the only word I can use to express what I'm feeling here. I keep hearing the word culpability with her. It's as though some of what she started, she's saying, has become a runaway train. And she didn't have time to sort out some of the loose ends in her own life. Because, of course, just because you know, maybe pre-incarnation, that you're only going to be here for a set number of years, that you're maybe going to die in a certain way, etc., doesn't mean that when you're actually down here on Earth that you remember any of that. So this culpability feels as though she wasn't aware that time was running out quite so fast towards the end of her life, and she wishes that she had tied up loose ends a little bit better. Now, she's been showing me particularly the Martin Bashir interview that she did and the book that she wrote with Andrew Morton, which started this runaway juggernaut, is how she's describing it. The Andrew Morton book was very much a warts and all book, probably a bit like Harry's Spare. Everything was laid out in very graphic detail. The Martin Bashir interview was another one. I remember sitting down and watching that, Diana, on the day that was released in the UK. The whole nation, well, not the whole nation, a lot of the nation was watching it. It's very similar reaction to what's happening now with Harry and Spare. It was all over the front pages. Nobody could believe it, etc. And when she's talking about tying up the loose ends, she's taking me a little bit further along in a life, it's interesting, in a timeline where if she'd lived a little bit longer. Now, obviously she didn't. So the timeline I'm being shown here is one where if she had lived a little bit longer, what she would not have done is have done a rerun of either the book or the documentary, the interview. It's as though she regretted in part both of them. Certainly with hindsight comes wisdom, is what she's saying. So it's to do with therapeutic practices, whether that be telling your story, healing, etc., better being done in private than being opened up to the whole world. Some parts of it anyway, is what she's saying. So let me just go into that. So there's something to do with the fact that she regretted how much she exposed of her most sacred, private thoughts and moments. But because she set the template, she can now see why Harry just took that up and thought that that was the way to do things. It's a bit like if you have any dysfunctional pattern within a family, suicide would be one, is what that's coming to mind. It's like if you've been shown a pattern of something, if it's not fully healed and talked through and all the ends tied up, it can pass down the generations. Doesn't mean it has to happen. It just means it's there as a excuse me, as a potentiality. Addictions are the same type of thing. So she laid out a template in terms of how to deal with your life, and it's as though he's taken it up and has run with it. She's saying he's now in Hollywood, or that part of the world, California, where it's the norm to, or she's just showing me the Hollywood culture, which is about the bigger the story, the bigger the audience, the juicier the details, the more riveting the read. And she's saying at no point was there anybody in his circle that either read through the book or watched the documentary before it aired and basically just pulled him aside and said, you sure that's a good idea to include that? Okay. Not to whitewash it all and say you can't tell your story, but just that there are key moments, both within the documentary and within the book, where she's saying a wise mother would have taken him aside and said, are you sure you want to put that in? Now she's saying he still might have refused to have listened to me, but I at least would have had the option to be able to have said that. She says, I do try to communicate and whisper in his ear, but he doesn't always listen. She says he's not listening now. She's very concerned for him. The thing that she's most concerned about in the book that's just been released is this thing with the disclosure of the fact that he says that he killed 25 Taliban in the war that he was in. Now, just stepping back into myself now, when I read that, I'm just trying to find something on my phone to show you. When I read that, has it gone? What did I think? I couldn't believe that he'd put it in the book, to be honest, because the first thing that I heard was he's now got a target on his back. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to find something that let me just pause the camera. I found it, okay. Yeah, so when I heard that he'd said that, he basically says he'd killed 25 Taliban and he'd removed them like chess pieces from the board. Now, there is somebody, I don't know who this is. This was just on Twitter, of all places. I don't know whether this is somebody who represents the Taliban or somebody within the Afghan government or whatever. But this was a response to that. And it says, Mr. Harry, the ones you killed were not chess pieces. They were humans. They had families who were waiting for their return. Among the killers of Afghans, not many have your decency to reveal their conscience and confess to their war crimes. It's a bit of a backhanded compliment, that last thing, because basically it's bringing in the energy of war crimes, but also calling him out for the disrespect to humanity shown. I mean, obviously in war, there's no winners in war. And of course, the Taliban killed countless allied troops as well. But it's the fact that I've been reading a few things in the press over the last 12 hours where a lot of army officials are coming out and saying a soldier never tells. It's as though he's broken a code within the army. And it feels as though the army itself are angry at him. It's as though he's burning his bridges with many very powerful groups. And the wise mother would have pulled him back, for example, from telling that particular revelation. Because I'm just hearing he's got a target on his back. Now, it's not the first time he's had a target on his back. And actually, of course, probably the whole royal family have had a target on their back the whole life, which is why they're surrounded by security 24/7. But this feels as though, I'm not wanting to, manifest anything in here, so I'm being careful what I say. but it's as though I'm just being shown a target, you know, the bullseye type thing. A snare, is it a snare's trap, the bullseye? And it's as though it's become clearer. The target on his back has become clearer. So it was very unwise for him to put that type of thing into the book. That's just one of the things. So Diana is rightly concerned about this, and I'm going to go back to her now. Okay, so Diana, do you want to talk about that? And actually I'm feeling real emotion as soon as I tune into her with regard to this particular aspect. I feel like she's got her head in her hands like that. Literally, it's like she's got her head in her hands, and it's like wanting to look, but not being able to look at the car crash that's coming. I'm aware what I've just said. Okay, I was saying that as a piece of symbolism, analogy. It's a saying in the UK, probably in other places around the world, but obviously she did die in a car crash herself, Diana. So it's a double-edged thing. I realise I've just said there, but it's another way to put it. One of my friends said to me yesterday, this whole thing is like a shit show now. Okay, that would be another way to describe it. It's literally like, I can't watch any more of this. I can't watch any more of this. And I'm seeing like her fingernails like dug in like that, so that the skin is actually starting to mark. It's like real torment. I'm hearing the word torment. And not being able to stop it is what is one of the things that is the most difficult for her, not being able to stop it. She's saying the reality is, even if I was alive, I wouldn't necessarily be able to stop it either, because he's a grown man. And she says, I'm just going to say it as I'm hearing it. She's saying, let me get my words right. She is saying that the ghost of me is actually far easier for him to handle than would be the reality of physical me in front of him. What she means by that is that there is a degree of rose-coloured spectacles that come when we look back from people who've passed, where they can become quite saintly, you know, and it's as though she would always approve of everything that I do. She would never tell me off. And I'm being shown her now with her hands on her hips like that, in quite a defiant mama bear mood, and holding no truck is what I'm hearing with some of the stuff that's been going on, particularly the disrespect to other family members. That does not mean that she's taking sides, okay? Because I'm now seeing her with her hands on her hips at William as well, okay? So it's like both of her boys. It's like she's squaring up to both of them, hands on the hips with both of them, looking William in the eye, looking Harry in the eye, and just actually wanting to shake them to their senses, both of them. She's saying, I didn't put in all that hard work in terms of teaching them how to care for others, so that it comes to a day where they don't care for each other. Yeah, that's really powerful, isn't it? So it's like she's showing me, you know, the missions to homeless charities and trips that they did, and what she tried to demonstrate through her life in terms of reaching out to people. She was all about reaching out to people, reaching out to the AIDS patient, reaching out to a leprosy victim, reaching out to people who were ill, deprived, in need. That's what she was all about. It was about reaching out to help. And she says, I can't believe that I taught them to be able to do that, because she's proud that they both can, but they can't reach out to each other. And she says it's the greatest irony and it's the greatest tragedy at present, is what she's saying. She's showing me that something comes in to change that dynamic, though, because at the moment I'm seeing, she's showing me both brothers with their backs to each other. So Harry's looking this way, William's looking that way, never the twain shall meet. Crossed lines of communication. I'm being shown crossed lines of communication or no communication. I'm being shown William here, parties to William, and by that I'm talking about just people within his circle trying to scope out what's going on over here with Harry, okay? So whether that is actually potential olive branches being extended, or how do they put it? When you put out, you're trying to feel out a subject, is it safe to go back in, that type of thing. But it doesn't feel as though it's coming directly from William. It's as though he's got others doing his bidding to see what's going on over here, to see whether the road is smooth or just as choppy as it has been. But it's interesting, as I'm talking to you, my hands are getting further and further apart, because this is what's happening. Where they once were like this, is what Diana is saying, they are now like this. And the danger, of course, is that it gets too far apart and the bridge is too big to build. But what I'm being shown is something happens within the middle of this bridge, which rocks both of their worlds and brings them back together. I have to say, I'm just going to say it, I feel it's probably the death of their father that does it. And I'm not wanting to wish that in for Charles, but it feels as though it would be that type of energy that would be the thing to maybe bring them to their senses. But she says there's no guarantees even with that. But she's very, very sad about what is occurring right now. And she's not holding anybody accountable either. She says they need to be able to be accountable to themselves. And she says, now take this into your own lives as well for the people watching, which is that we all need to be accountable for our own actions. There's far too much projection and name calling, which happens in families, whereby people don't want to look at their own part in it, or they don't want to look at what they've contributed to it. And the transformation that is required to heal the family starts within the individual. But the problem is that each individual is waiting for the other one to start first. If you start, then I'll start. Or if you start, then I'll start. And that just leads to complete, I can't say the word, atrophy. Atrophy, is it? Decay, and death energy where nothing grows. She's showing me sterile ground where nothing grows. And this is really beautiful analogy that she's showing me. She's showing me these two here in a state towards each other of atrophy, atrophy. Let me just look up what that word means, because I'm being given it very specifically, and I probably have said it wrong anyway, but atrophy meaning or wasting away, especially as a result of the degeneration of cells during evolution. The calf muscles will gradually decline in effectiveness or vigour due to underuse or neglect. Okay, well, it's like a wasting away. So I'm seeing both of them in different ways with regards to each other, wasting away, becoming less and less to each other. But actually, as one declines, so does the other. And what I'm being shown is in the middle of these two energies, which are about wasting away, because it's a waste, is what she's saying. It's a waste. If these two became one, they could rock the world, because they both combine different energies that are needed. William, the more stoic, quiet one. Harry, the more maybe wild, free one. I don't know. Put them together and you've got something really quite special. But in the middle of these two that are just sort of stagnant energies with each other, there's this beautiful meadow of flowers and birds, and that's where she wants them to be, back on the same piece of soil. And I'm now being shown Highgrove, and I'm being shown Prince Charles's Highgrove Gardens. And I would hazard a guess, because she's showing me, he has some part of the garden in Highgrove which has been allowed to grow wild with wild flowers. You know, when you put seeds down and you just allow them to do whatever they want to do. And I'm being taken there. And I'm being taken to the fact that these two brothers are going to come back to that piece of land, to their father's garden. And it does feel quite upsetting, the energy I'm tuning into now, which is that it feels at the present moment that neither party are going to be particularly budging. It's just going to be stagnation and death. That's not physical death, just a death of the relationship between the brothers for both of them. But the father's garden brings them back together. But why are they back in the father's garden is the question that maybe is hanging in the air. What brings them back to the father's garden? There's a moment in the future between the two of them, I can really feel it, where the cameras won't be there, and the women aren't there. Megan's not there, Kate's not there. It's just the brothers. They're just in the garden together, and it feels like it's Highgrove. It feels like it's springtime. The birds are in the air. There is a silence, there is a peace, there is a healing that takes place there. There are tears that happen there for both of them, where they truly come back and see each other. But it takes something to get them to that place. And it takes a humbling. It takes the energy of vulnerability to come in. I'm wondering if there was a particular place where they used to play when they were boys that means something to them both. It's linked into that. And I'm hearing forget-me-not, the flower forget-me-not. Yeah, this is sad. Diana's saying to me, and at that moment when that happens, the four of us are together. And she's showing me herself in the sky, just above, spiritually above, the two brothers side by side. And I think Charles has gone. Charles is below the earth. He's of the earth. At that moment, there is a completion of the circle. The cycle is complete, and the offspring come back together again to birth the new. And then they both truly stand in this garden. The garden feels symbolic of so much. It feels symbolic of new earth. It feels symbolic of new energies. It's new growth. But until that time, there's going to be a lot of continued darkness, basically. They can't see each other. It's like their backs are to each other. They can't see each other. And it's actually a bit like Diana. They don't actually want to see each other, because if they truly turned and saw each other, they would be able to see themselves in the other brother. I mean, that is so profound, my friends, because the truth is there in a nutshell for all of us. The one in our family that we struggle with the most, if we can truly look them in the eyes, there is something there that requires healing. There's something there that requires vulnerability. In an argument, for example, it takes two to tango, as they say, okay? It takes two to create whatever has been created. It's never just about one side. Yeah. I'm going to ask a little bit more now. I'm going to come, because I feel like I've gone into the future a bit there. I'm going to come back to the present moment. Just know that in the future, it gets healed. Somehow it gets healed. But I still am troubled by the present day situation and the danger he's put himself in. And I feel that there is a danger around him. So she's asking me here to help us shield him. Those are her words, to shield him. I'm hearing those words from Jesus, actually. Forgive them, for they know not what they do. He's a bit like an innocent, I've put here, her words were, he's like a defenseless cub. That's what she said. He's like a defenseless cub. There's a thing with Harry whereby he's trying to prove that he's the man, whether that be through joining the army, through what he's doing now with his life. I don't know. He's a father, of course. But there's an aspect to him of what she's calling stunted development. Stunted development where he's still basically, let me show you the picture. He's still that little boy. And that little boy needs to, that's what she's talking about. It's like the defenseless cub. But the point is, he's not that age anymore. He is now however old he is. And he's reflective of the fact that all of us have a part of ourselves that is stunted to a degree. The trick is to try and identify where you stopped maybe allowing love to come in, where you shut down, where you decided the world wasn't a safe space, something that happened. It doesn't have to be, something horrendously dramatic, but it mattered to you. It mattered to your development. There's usually something in all of our lives whereby you look back. Put it this way, what Diana's showing me is that life in an ideal world, which doesn't really exist, but in an ideal world, you come in, you're born. This is your exit point when you die. And then you just flow through life. And it's all, nice and flowing and ever onward, ever upward, peaceful, joyful. But the truth is that in anybody's life, there are these moments, whether it's at age 5, age 9, age 29, age 40, whatever they are, where sometimes we hit a block and we just can't get past that block. It might appear that we've got past that block because we then put up coping mechanisms or we bring in some habit or behaviour that helps us. But ultimately we haven't dealt with it. We haven't dealt with it. And until we go back and we deal with it, we're always going to be at that stunted stage. So we're all that little boy in many respects. But equally, we're also this boy. We're also this man. We're all parties. Because the truth is that William also lost a mother. Okay, he was a little bit older, not much older. But somehow he's managed to navigate through it, maybe a little bit better. Let's ask Diana about that. Let's ask Diana about William. And let's just see what she wants to say. Let's not even put a question on it. So Diana, William. Okay, I was thinking that's strange. I can't feel anything, but actually all I'm hearing is silence. I'm hearing silence, but I'm also seeing the word silence. So on the one hand, you've got Harry here with his back to his brother, who is telling the world everything, okay, everything. Very loud, very in your face, to whoever wants to hear. I'm hearing to the highest bidder as well, okay, and there's a lot of noise. I'm not judging it, it's just that's what it is. In this camp, we have just silence. Isn't that interesting as a dynamic? Think about it from a dualistic perspective. And again, think about it from your own family dynamic or how you maybe navigate life. We need the middle approach, don't we? It's not healthy to clam up and say nothing. I mean, you might say he can't say anything. That's a whole different thing. It's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the fact that this boy, the elder boy, William, what he did was to a degree, he shut down as well. he doesn't speak about it very much, is what I'm hearing. Whereas this one, it's all now coming out. Just going to pull a couple of cards. I was drawn to this deck. I just want to pull a couple of cards. I'm going to pull a couple back for William. We have the Five of Fire, competing goals, bothersome details, and conflict with others has just come out for William. And then we also have on the bottom of the deck the Nine of Earth, which says enjoying life's little luxuries, spending quiet time alone, successful self-employment. So yeah, this is William's coming through here as somebody who is okay in his own company, who is okay with silence actually. I mean, he's got a family of his own, so it can't be that quiet at home, but it's just, that's what I'm picking up, okay? Successful self-employment is one way to put it, but he's obviously going to be the future King of England. His future is assured. He hasn't got any worries on that. But he's got all of these competing goals, bothersome details, and conflict with others. Well, conflict with others is an obvious. Competing goals, bothersome details. I just think that's how he views the whole situation with his brother, actually. Let's pull 2 cards for Harry, and then we'll go back to Diana. Just when I'm called to use a deck or bring it into the reading, it's there for a reason, so let's use it at this point. And Diana can talk through these cards as well. So Harry, let's just have a couple of cards on Harry, Diana. Okay, that one, the Emperor. You see, this has always been, and we've got the King of Water as well here. This is the problem. He wants to be king, basically. This is the problem with Harry. It's like he's called his book Spare. It's like he doesn't want to be the spare. He wants to be the heir. And this is what people just don't seem to really get with this whole situation. I mean, the actions are causing damage to the monarchy and the royal family. Of that, there is no doubt. But remember the bowling pin analogy that Diana was talking about. They'll bounce back. You might not like the fact they will, but they will, because they're here for a reason. But he doesn't want to be the spare. He wants to be the heir. There's real jealousy here. There's at the heart. This is sibling rivalry. It's sibling rivalry and jealousy, which is that I am the emperor, I am the emperor, and I am the king, not you. Whereas actually, the way it's worked is that this soul came in first. This was the contract. This was the soul contract. That this soul, known as William, is the one who is the heir, not Harry. And Harry has a hard time with that. So he's trying to establish himself as his own king. But the question is, can you have 2 kings? That's what this is all about. Okay, anything else to say here, Diana, with this deck? Oh, gosh. Wow, that was spectacular. They all just went everywhere. Hold on, let me just redo that. What are you trying to say? Okay. Diana liked her cards. She liked cards. She liked readings. She enjoyed seeing mediums. You know, she was into all of this. That's probably why we're using them. We've got Ace of Air, brilliant new ideas and inspiration, seeing the truth of a situation and a challenging beginning. That would be the Ace of Swords. Truth. What do you mean by that? Why have we got the Ace of Air here? The Unicorn. I felt the Unicorn energy around Diana. Maybe she wants me to go to the Unicorn deck. I think she does. Which I've got out here. That was all planned as well. She wanted the Unicorn deck, which I only got this week. If you saw my live, you know that I christened this deck a couple of days ago. And Diana said she wanted the Unicorn deck. And I was like, really? And she was like, yes. So she wants me to pull a card for William and a card for Harry. And I am focusing particularly on these two because it's this dynamic that's caused all of these issues. You can blame other partners and other people involved, but ultimately the crux of it is the dynamic between these two. Right, let's see. Well, I'll pull a couple of cards for Megan in a minute as well. So who do we want to have first? Well, we've got 2 cards have just come out. So let's see. One of them is William and one of them is Harry. I haven't seen which is which. This one's William. William is compassion. Okay, so we have compassion. It says, be gentle with yourself. Forgiveness will set you free. See the light in yourself and others. Wow, I haven't even seen what this one is yet for Harry. So William's message from Diana is forgiveness sets you free. Forgive your brother is what she's saying. And forgive yourself for any part that you have contributed to this whole situation. Forgiveness sets you free. If there's anybody in William's life that he needs to forgive, whether it's Diana, whether it's his father, whether it's Camilla, whether it's Megan, whether it's Harry, whoever it is, forgiveness sets you free. William is being asked to model forgiveness. And I hope that he can do that. How amazing would that be if he can do that and he can demonstrate that on the world stage? And that's not about taking sides and saying that the other person was wrong. Forgiveness sets you free. And it says, see the light in yourself and others. Diana is reminding him that I'll put that card there, I haven't looked at it yet for Harry. These 2 warring brothers with their backs to each other, what they need to do is they need to turn round and face each other and see the light, remember the light in each other. It's that energy of namaste. The divine in me sees the divine in you. Whatever you have done, the divine in me sees the divine in you. Can you feel how powerful that would be if they could actually model that and illustrate that on the world stage? And that's why I think I was being taken to the future, this moment in the garden, which I think is private. I don't think anyone even necessarily knows about it. But Diana says, when it's happened, you will know, because you'll see the change in body language, stature. They'll just be more at ease with each other. But she's saying what she doesn't... No, she stopped me from saying what I was about to say. I'll tell you what it is, just because otherwise you're going to think, oh, what on earth was it? She stopped me because she didn't want to interfere. Because what she was about to say is she hopes that they don't then sit down and do a joint TV interview about it all together in terms of how we've come back together. She's saying that I mustn't say that in terms of her, because it's like that's interfering. Because if they want to do that and they need to do it, they can. It's just that she's got this, remember, this culpability and this guilt energy in terms of starting the whole juggernaut of sitting down in front of the TV cameras and playing to the cameras. She knows she did that. There's an element where Harry and Meghan do that, and they will, paparazzi, even though they say that they are running from the paparazzi. What Diana is saying, there are times when there are photographs that have been released, which, put it this way, people have been told to be in... Sorry, my camera died. Interesting. Because I was just saying people have been told to be in particular places to get particular shots. It's what Diana used to do. So on one hand, you are blaming the paparazzi and blaming them for making your life a misery. But on other hand, you are feeding it to a degree as well. And Diana's saying this whole Netflix drama, for example, is feeding it. It's going to create more of a feeding frenzy, is what she's saying. It's not going to reduce it. If you want a private life, you don't do the big documentaries and the interviews and the books, okay? You can't have it both ways, is what she's saying. And it was interesting that my camera died as I was saying that point. So it's almost as though she's saying the cameras need to die, okay? If you want the private life, it needs to be off camera, is what she's saying. So anyway, that is William's card, the energy of compassion, forgiveness, and namaste. Let's see what Harry's is. Harry's is goddess. Doesn't completely surprise me. Harry's got a mother wound, we know that. Diana, of course, is often linked to the goddess Diana. I think that he's put Meghan on a pedestal as well as a sort of goddess. And the problem with putting people on pedestals, whether they're Diana, whether they're Meghan, is that it's untenable, because anybody here at Earth at the moment is a human being who is flawed and imperfect, and we all are. So there's like a there's a big wound here in relation to how he views the divine feminine energy. And what the card says here is love every part of you. Love every part of you. Honour your divine feminine energy, see your inner beauty, and love every part of you. Harry doesn't love every part of himself, and he doesn't see his own inner beauty. And actually, of the two boys, I would say he has the more pronounced feminine energy. We all are a mixture of divine masculine and divine feminine energy. Harry has a more feminine energy than William. Nothing wrong in that at all. But what? He's struggling with that aspect of himself. There's almost, what I'm picking up here is an energy of trying to prove that he's macho. Let's go back to this thing about I killed 25 Taliban. It's almost like a macho boast, isn't it? It's fueled by testosterone. The divine feminine energy within Harry would not have said that, okay? So I feel as though this is a card which is saying that he's actually struggling with his own feminine energy, is what I'm feeling very strongly there. But also there's an aspect of goddess worship, and also an energy, I'm going to bring Diana back here, of having her on such an exalted altar, basically, that he's lost a sense of reality. It's so rose-coloured spectacles that he's forgotten the flaws. And some of the flaws that he's forgotten are flaws and traps that he's falling back into. This love of the cameras, but then blaming the cameras would be one example of it. Neediness, she's saying as well. Okay, so Diana's owning that aspect of her psyche in terms of the fact that she's saying I was very needy when I was here on earth. I was very needy. I was very attention seeking, she's showing me. And she's taking me back to that part in the book, I think it was the book or the interview that she did, where it came out that she'd flung herself down the stairs when she was pregnant with either William or Harry, can't remember. She was obviously very unwell at that time. She suffered from bulimia. She had mental health issues. She was a damaged soul, somebody who needed healing, somebody who needed help, but equally who was seeking attention. And the family didn't know what to do with her. So she's showing me herself lying in the bottom of the stairs, and I'm being shown the Queen, in particular, the Queen being horrified, like not knowing what to do. I mean, what would you do? But I'm being shown that, okay? So attention seeking as a shadow energy. The truth is, okay, Diana doesn't want him to keep her on this pedestal any longer. Right? What do you want to say about Harry and your relationship with him now? For it to be grounded, she says it needs to be grounded. Okay, I'm going to say it because I'm hearing it. It's just an odd one. I'm hearing to be grounded and for it to be based on mutual respect. I'm tuning into a part of Harry's psyche here. She's showing me, which although he's got her on this plateau and altar, you know, this goddess energy, there's a part of this little boy who's really pissed off with her, that she left. And of course, this is one of the stages of grief, anger, complete anger. He might not know that. That might be completely subconscious. But in terms of where he's stunted, he's actually angry with her, is what she's saying. He's angry with me for leaving, and he's taking it out on the ones that are left. That's what she's saying. How interesting is that? He's taking it out on the ones that are left. The person he's actually angry with, but he doesn't realise, is me. He's forgotten the soul contracts. He's forgotten that he did choose me as a mother who was always not going to be there forever. He's forgotten that he chose a brother who was destined to be king, is destined to be king. He's forgotten his role, which was never a spare. What was his role, Diana? I'm hearing to be a consort. What does consort mean? Consort. To be a consort. I mean, Camilla is queen consort. I don't really know what it means, consort. A consort is a wife, a husband, or a companion. Oh, in particular, the spouse of a reigning monarch. Okay, well, obviously, William's consort is Catherine. Because I was seeing there's a card on the bottom of the deck. I don't know if I kept shuffling it. I saw the Three of Pentacles. I think I shuffled again. There's like a competitive element here between... My nose is going crazy, so I'm always on to something when that happens. There's a competitive triangle between Kate, William and Harry. They were always a three, weren't they? And they always appeared quite happy. But now in the book, Harry's saying that no, there have been problems there for a long time. And I think he's saying that he was only best man under duress, or William didn't really want him as best man. But actually the pictures from the day paint a different story. The pictures are really beautiful of William's wedding to Catherine, and Harry looks thrilled. So the card of ego's just come out and fallen on the floor as I was talking to you. Archangel Jophiel. It says a false sense of entrapment, being overly focused on material things, negative or fear-based thoughts. So ego's getting in the way here. Ego. And look, yeah, three of fire on the bottom of the deck. Abundance, things look very good, have patience at this time, make long, yeah. Threesome. It's like he's never found his role, he's never found his place. But the thing is, he's got his place now. He's chosen to leave, he's chosen to be in America. He's chosen his wife. He's got his family. That should be the place now, Diana says, where he can make his start. Seven of Cups, though. Seven of Cups. He doesn't know what he wants. He does not know what he wants. There'll always, for Harry, Diana's saying, there will always be another cup that is more glittering. He doesn't know what he wants. He's very lost. Very lost. Let's pull a card for Kate and Meghan. And let's ask Diana about Kate and Meghan. There's a part of Diana where obviously she's, she's in spirit, so she's very aware that she would have been piggy in the middle, is what she's saying. Piggy in the middle between the two of them. An undesirable place to be. What she means is that she knows that these two girls don't get on. Okay, for whatever reason, they don't get on. They're just are very, very different, is what Diana is saying. They're just very different. It's not about goody, baddie, any of that. It's just they're very different girls. And she's saying it would have been very different, very difficult as a mother-in-law with these two to help them bridge the difference. She said, I wonder where I could have taken them, what I could have done with them to have helped with that. But she's saying, it's almost like, again, I'm being shown the energy of these two with their backs to each other as well, but it's like Diana trying to keep them apart, actually, interestingly, trying to keep them apart. She's saying, I'm not sure I would have been a great help. She said, because I have my own issues as well. Just I'm hearing the word cat fight. She said it could have descended into a cat fight. Just three very strong, powerful women. She's having a bit of a laugh with us, but that's what I'm feeling. It's got disaster written all over it. For Meghan first, Diana. And we're going to use the unicorn deck. Are we? Yeah, okay. Patience. Patience is coming up for Megan. It says, pause before you take action. Trust that divine timing is at work and be patient and play whilst you wait. Not very patient. And on the bottom of the deck, we've got leadership. So it's like she wants to always be in the leadership position. She aims for leadership. She aims very high. If there's a time when her and Harry aren't together again, it's interesting, I said again. Okay, so, we know about their previous relationship with Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn, but I'm feeling there's another lifetime. They've had lifetimes where it hasn't worked in quite a few different lifetimes, not just the Henry VIII one. So what I'm saying is that when I've always felt that they don't end up together, let's put it that way, forever and ever. So if she finds herself on her own, she will just go higher. I don't know how you go much higher than the fifth in line to the throne of England, but she will, she can. She'll always, but she's very impatient, very impatient. She needs to learn patience and to learn to pause before taking action. She throws herself into things without a great deal of thought. Very impulsive is what Diana is saying. She's very impulsive. She can mean well, but it isn't always executed very well. And that's why they keep getting all this sort of clapback, as it were, from various things, because things aren't thought through. So patience. She needs to learn patience. Diana's saying if she had been a little bit more patient and stayed in the UK longer, when they were living in the UK, because they were only here for a couple of years, if that, after they got married. I don't think it was even that long. If she'd played the longer game here, it could have been very different. Things could have worked out. But her nature is somebody to just keep jumping to the next thing, or jumping to the next person, or jumping to the next project before tying up all the loose ends. There's no judgment there from Diana saying that. It's just, that's what I'm being told. Let's have a look at Kate. Three that came out, so I'll put it back. I don't even know what they were. Kate, just one card. Click. Right. Well, interestingly, there's now 4 cards that have come out for Kate. Now, I didn't want 4, but I'm going to take them because they've all come. Beloved. She is a very loved figure, certainly here in the UK. Very loved. Beloved. And it says, prepare for your life partner. William is her life partner. This is another thing that with Harry and Meghan and William and Kate is a division between them. Harry and Meghan have past life memories of it never quite works out for them. They never get their happy ever after. I don't think they're going to get their happy ever after in this lifetime either. I've said that before. I've read on it. Unsettled energy when they first got married. Look back, I've said it all years ago. But with William and Kate, they're life partners, and they've been life partners before. There's a jealousy there. There's a jealousy not only in the fact that he's going to be king, there's a jealousy in terms of Kate and William's solid relationship. It says romance, returning to relationship, believe that you are lovable. I don't know, Kate's a very private, hidden individual in many ways in terms of who she really is. We see who she is on the world stage, and she's a Capricorn, isn't she? So she's very earthy. But I'm wondering here whether there's a wound with her really as well, a bit like Diana, in that she hasn't got any idea how much she really is loved. She is loved, and I don't think she truly gets how loved she is. We have growth, flow, and courage for her as well. Growth, flow, and courage. And beloved. Courage says you are safe, fear is an illusion, and set strong boundaries. So Kate being told to put her boundaries down. What will she tolerate? What will she not tolerate? Who will she have in her life? Who will she not have in her life? Flow, find an easier path forward, surrender to outcome, release your expectations. And growth is about seeking out a mentor taking baby steps and being willing to learn from others. Some quite powerful messages here in these cards, isn't there? For Kate. Because this deck is really talking, I'm going to also just pull one for Charles and ask Diana about Charles as well. So Diana, how is Charles doing right now? Anything you want to say with regard to, I keep wanting to say Prince Charles. She says yes, because that's how I knew him. But of course now King Charles. She says it's a big transition for him. She's showing me a step up from being a Prince of Wales to being king. And for Charles, it's a huge step. It's a huge step. And she's saying even though he's been preparing for it his whole life, it's much bigger than he thought it was going to be. Diana's saying he's got big boots to fill in terms of the Queen. He knows that. And he always knew it was going to be a hard act to follow, but it's harder than he expected it to be. I don't think all this situation with Harry and William and Meghan and Kate is helping, but there's also something else going on here. Let me just tune in to what Diana wants to say about Charles. Okay, I'm just going to say what I'm given because I don't understand even the message. I'm being shown a rod and the rod is being laid down. That might have something to do with the coronation, but I'm feeling as though the rod is an aspect of kingdom. It's one of the things you're given in the coronation, and usually the king picks it up and holds it. I'm now being, she's showing me now a snapshot back of the Queen when the Queen was crowned, and I think she's holding the orb, whatever it's called. It's not called the orb. And then there's also something else that you hold, and that's what I'm being shown. But he's not holding it; he's laying it down. Maybe he lays down the crown. Maybe he passes the crown to to William. That's what I'm being shown. Charles. She has great compassion for him, great compassion. She's very concerned for him. It's less of a sort of like lover type energy or wife energy. It's more like a motherly energy. She's coming through with the maternal type energy for him now. Concerned for him. I'm sure that happened last time I tuned in with her and him. I'm seeing Camilla. Okay, so I've got Charles, and for whatever reason, Diana's just around him, trying to comfort him. She's trying to comfort him. She's trying to hold him. She's got great compassion. Her heart is wide open for his pain, is what she's saying to me. He's in pain. He's in physical pain. He's in emotional pain. He's in spiritual pain. And the spiritual pain is to do with the crown chakra, and there's a feeling that somehow he's not good enough or he can't do it. It's an uphill task. This step is just so big. Camilla is here to the side, and she's just this very steady influence. And there's between Diana and Camilla here, there's actually a respect. There's a respect now. There's a respect. There's an energy coming from Diana that I'm glad he's got her. I'm glad he's got her because he needs somebody. Let me pull a card for Camilla. Oh, do I want all of those? Not really. I'm going to reshuffle. I've got the Queen of Water, which would be her. No, let me just read them what they are. I've got the Queen of Water. So Camilla is the Queen of Water. Or is that Diana? Maybe that's Diana, Queen of Cups. We've got the Ace of Water, love. Ace of Earth, groundedness. Four of Earth. It feels as though... Okay. So, micro, macro. How many of you maybe have the wicked stepmother in your family? In Harry's book, he calls her the wicked stepmother. He says that he implored Charles not to marry Camilla and that he was worried about her as the wicked stepmother. This contradicts something he said only a few years previously about how much he loved her. But anyway, so the energy of the wicked stepmother in the family. Sometimes you have to get to a place, Diana's saying, where you acknowledge the love between, for example, in this case, the father and the other woman, that you may not understand as the little boy or the grown man, but which has to be respected. Because whatever you think about Camilla, the love that she's had with Charles has endured over, I was going to say decades, but I want to say centuries. So again, Charles and Camilla have got past lives together, past loves. They're past loves. I'm actually feeling the energy of twin flame for those two very strongly, that they've always found each other in each lifetime, and they've always been there for each other in each lifetime. And there is just this respect Diana feels for them now. The King of Air, yeah, King of Air. Just pulled that card from the top of the deck. That's Charles. Brilliant, impartial, professional and diplomatic. King of Air. Cut off from his feelings. Whatever love means, that's what he said when he was engaged to Diana. Whatever love means. Because with her, he didn't really get it. When asked, do you love Diana? Well, yes, of course, whatever love means. He would never, ever have said that about Camilla, because he's always known that he loved Camilla. And Diana gets that now. She gets that now. So there's respect of these two women, but in the centre of it is just this man. And I'm feeling like an energy here in my heart as I'm talking about Charles that is a little bit painful. So I'm wondering if there's something going on with his heart. Let's pull a card for Charles. I still think he's going to be crowned king. I think he's going to be king for a while, but not that long. King Charles. Leadership, yeah. He will be the king. And he'll be king in a 7-year, which is about intuition. And interestingly, Charles is being asked to tap into his intuitive ability more and more. So to come away from being the King of Air, which is just about the rational intellect, and become more of the intuitive. To be honest, he always has been. You know, there's a part of Charles that's always talked to plants and been into, spirituality, including, not just traditional Christianity as well. You know, he's interested in world religion, for example, all that type of stuff. But yeah, Charles is the leader, and it's in the year of intuition, which is this year. Let me just pull a tarot card for Charles. So Diana, Charles, anything else to say about Charles? I'm hearing he's had his time. And as I said that, we've got the Page of Fire, which is a younger person. This would be, I'm assuming this would be William. I know it's fire and William is water, but it's also to do with, there's a younger whippersnapper at Charles's ankles, who maybe wants it more, has more passion for it, who is willing to do more with it, who's willing to, who just has that more fire energy within him. Let's just tune into Charles, Diana. She's showing me his feet. She showed me her feet, and her feet were looking good. Slim ankles, tennis socks, tennis shoes. His are looking puffy and swollen. And we've seen, his hands are puffy and swollen. She's showing me his ankles as well, being like that. Fluid in his body. The redness, the flushness of his skin. Doesn't feel as though he's very well. It's not always easy doing this sort of work, because sometimes you hear things and it's like you don't know whether to say them or not. But maybe I should just trust I'm being given it for a reason. I'm hearing brain aneurysm. And then we had the card of hope upside down. So Charles's health isn't good. If it's not Charles, it's somebody else, but there's something to come linked into that. Don't know if it's stroke or something. So, okay, let's try and get more hope and positivity coming back. So all the more reason, Diana is saying, for bridges to be built now. So what is your message to your sons, Diana? Particularly because we're sort of ending on this sort of note. I'm hearing time is running out, guys, to mend this in this lifetime. Because what Diana is saying is, unless it's mended in this lifetime and bridges are built back and forgiveness comes in and olive branches are extended and also then accepted. If you get an apology, you have to accept the apology, okay? It works both ways. You're going to keep coming back. She's showing me the karmic loop that we all get in with families, okay? And this is true for you that are watching as well. If you've got fractured relationships in your family, what are you waiting for is what she's saying. What are you waiting for? The clock is ticking, tick-tock. Do it today. Do it now. Pick up the phone today. Don't wait for tomorrow. Sometimes tomorrow doesn't come. And then you've got the regret, then you've got the guilt. And then you pass to spirit and you work through it. But then often you have to come back. You have to come back into the same family with the same person, different roles. But somehow that forgiveness is going to work its way back in. Try and complete it in this lifetime is what she's saying. Think about the energy of the times we're in. Ascension, awakening, closing the loop, clearing all the ties, tying up all the loose ends. Do it now. There are things that she wishes she'd said and done, and bridges that she wished she'd mended when she was alive and she didn't. And I'm being shown her brother, Lord Althorpe, in particular, as one. And I'm being shown one sister as well, but it feels like it's private and it's shrouded, and she's not going to go into that here. But just it could be something very minor. It doesn't have to be huge, but things that maybe were left unsaid that she wished she had said, or times where she wished she had visited and didn't. So do it now, because otherwise it has to be worked out somewhere, she says, in some dimension, either back on earth or in spirit. Okay. Because I've written down here what she said to me this morning. She says, in terms of family soul contracts, she says, you wait a long time in queue to be given another chance with the same soul. And what she means by that is that you might be ready, but they might not be, okay? So you wait a long time in queue to be given another chance with the same soul. You may be ready, but are they ready? Try to work it out now. So, final messages, Diana, final messages. She's showing me, I'm hearing the song by Elton John. Of course, Elton John, one of her friends who I believe she had a falling out with. I think they'd made it up, had they? I can't remember. But she's showing me Elton John, and she's saying certainly there were things that maybe I could have said to him prior to death, which I wish I had. But she's showing me his song Cycle of Life. The Circle of Life, rather. Circle of Life is the song she's giving us today. She's got a big smile on her face when she thinks of Elton. She loves Elton. I think he's here for a bit longer, yeah. He's got a real light to him, she's saying, and a joy to him, and an eccentricness to him. And he does a lot of good work, she's saying, a lot of good work, a lot of which is unreported and out of the public eye. She's saying Harry would do well to visit his Uncle Elton. She's wanting to lighten it up a bit. She's saying, don't just leave Elton for the funerals, She's saying he's she's bringing in the energy of fun, that he can be a bridge, actually. So I don't know whether Harry is in contact with Elton John, but it feels as though Elton might be able to help him a little bit. Maybe they live near each other, I've no idea. Anything else, Diana? She wants the family to get behind Charles as he prepares to ascend the throne in May, which is only a few months away now. And she wants all members to rally behind Charles and for him to have the day that he deserves, is what she's saying. She says he's waited his whole life for that day, and he deserves to have the day that was destined for him. However long or short his reign, he deserves that day, and he deserves his family to be there for him. She says every person has flaws, every person has weaknesses, every person has things they've done wrong. Every parent has made mistakes in bringing up their child. She says, but there's much goodness in him as well. And she'd like her sons to be able to see that. And to be there for him and to be there for each other, and for the coronation to be a time for them to come back together. Let's just pull a couple of cards on the coronation itself, Diana. Let's go to this deck. As I was saying all that, my phone was texting. It's just my daughter, but texts coming in. So I'm wondering whether towards the time of the coronation, texts start coming in between the brothers. I don't know. Okay, Charles's coronation, just quickly. Diana, anything else to say on this? Charles's coronation. Destiny. Look at that, destiny. And then we have the Three of Pentacles on the bottom of the deck, which is people working as a community for this fated moment. It's fated. Charles is fated and destined, and always has been, to inherit the crown. And right now there are many people working to make it a nice, positive event for the country and the world. We've also got the Queen of Cups, which is Diana, working behind the scenes to make it a nice day as well. She wants that. Why would she not want that? She's a spirit that is heart-centered and full of love. She wants what's best for each individual. And she's always been a monarchist. She's always believed in the monarchy. So Diana feels as though she's with Charles. Look at that. She's with Charles when he's crowned. But we've also got on the bottom of the deck the Six of Swords. Why have we got the Six of Swords on the bottom of the deck? The King of Swords. Yeah, that's what I was feeling. I don't know why, but it feels as though the soul contract that Diana has with Charles is still not quite complete, even though she's died. And it feels as though it finishes when he becomes king, and she then can move away from it. It's almost like the last part of her soul contract with him is to help him with this moment of coronation, to help get him ready. And then after that, for whatever reason, she moves away from him more. I don't know why. Just the contract feels as though it's complete. Maybe it's just a case of leaving him to it then, for whatever reason. Okay. Final question, because I know people will ask this, Diana. It sounds really glib and stupid to say it this way, but have you met the Queen? Have you met the Queen yet, as she's transitioned to spirit? Have you been able to spend time with her, greet her, meet her? Let's just feel the energy of what Diana wants to say with regard to the Queen's transition last year. Just going to have to tune in a bit deeper to that one. Hold on. It's a bit more veiled. Diana. Queen's transition. Oh, that's really nice. She's showing me, yes, she has. And she's showing me that the way that they contact or communicate with each other in spirit is the Queen is a much younger girl. Probably around the ages of 25, something like that. So she's shown me the Queen in spirit as a much younger woman, not as the older woman that she was, or even the more matriarchal type figure she was when Diana married into the family. Where Diana and the Queen are connecting now in spirit is the Queen is more like the 25-year-old young woman who was more free, I suppose, and maybe a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more informal. I think the stories of the Queen and Princess Margaret during the war, they used to go off and they used to have go into the crowds, you know, to celebrate the end of the war. And they mingled in the streets and nobody knew who they were. It was a much more free-spirited energy that the younger Queen had. And that's it's at that level, that's sort of the energy that I've got the Queen at and I've got Diana at. And it's like together they're able to connect a little bit deeper and a little bit better with each other from that perspective. And they're enjoying each other's company is what I'm hearing. It's as though all the formalities have been stripped away and they're able just to see each other more as divine feminine energies who might be different, but it's the free-spirited energy that the younger Queen had and Diana definitely had that is uniting them in spirit. That's really lovely message. Yeah. Anything else to say there? Oh, and horses. I'm being shown horses. I'm being shown the Queen with horses and Diana with horses. And I mean, all this energy today with the unicorns, that was both of their things I'm hearing. It was both of their things. She says you wouldn't expect that of the late Queen, would you? But of course, the unicorn, I think, is the symbol in Edinburgh and Scotland. So it's on the royal insignia or something like that. So yeah, unicorn energy with the Queen and also with Diana, the love of horses bringing them together. And I'm now being shown a photograph that I have seen. Diana's showing it to me. It's in the public domain of a very young Diana next to this horse. And it's like, so there's a connection with the Queen in spirit with horses and with this free-spirited. And I'm seeing laughter. I'm seeing real laughter with the two of them. So it feels as though that lightness, I'm feeling a real lightness in spirit with the younger Queen and Diana, that lightness of spirit wanting to come in and like rain down on the family now, and bring in laughter again, bring in some laughter, bring in some lightness, bring in some fun. It is a family which has duty and responsibility at its heart, but all of these attacks are, you know, it's a heavy energy, so it's wanting to lift it higher. I'm hearing a song from Diana now, lifting you higher and higher. Was that Steve Winwood, somebody like that? Let me just have a look. Lifting you higher and higher, lifting you higher and higher. Song. It was Your Love Keeps Lifting Me Higher and Higher by Jackie Wilson is what I'm hearing. Yeah, that's the song that we're being left with. It's a beautiful, uplifting song. I'm going to go and listen to that. So thank you, Diana, for being with us. I hope that today has been helpful. See some of the archetypal energies that we've been pulling out. The wicked stepmother, the wounded child, the shunted individual that might be, the shunted growth individual that might be you at a particular time in your life, the energy of forgiveness that needs to come in, non-judgment, completion of karmic cycles within families, tying up loose ends. There's a lot here. So sending love to all involved, sending love to Harry, sending love to Meghan, sending love to William, sending love to Catherine, sending love to Charles, Camilla, Diana in spirit, and all of you, all of your families, and the human family as one. Much love. Take care. Thank you, Diana. I think she'll be back soon. Okay, bye for now. Bye. Please like and share the video if you have liked and shared it. More people get to see it. Okay, bye.